In today's video we do have a lot to cover. We've got a sharpening jig, hinge jig, absolutely amazing set of clamps, and this bad boy over here. But first of all, we're gonna unbox each one, check what you actually get in each set, and then we'll do some testing so you know exactly what they are for and how to use them. Alright then, so there's quite a lot to get through, and the first on the agenda, let's go with the clamps. These will be my first panel clamps, and as you can see, as always, everything is neatly packaged. No issues at all. The bar itself, that's made from aluminium, so it is actually fairly lightweight, so you're not going to be struggling moving things around, and hopefully because it's aluminium it will be quite easy to remove any glue excess from that as well. But yeah, overall the quality is actually absolutely superb, and the rest of the pieces seem to be a very high quality as well. This time though, this is not aluminium, this is nice, heavy and chunky. I think it's stainless steel. So let's put these together and glue up a panel. In this set you've got two types of bars, one with a threaded insert right in the middle and the other one is plain. On the plain one we need to install this stopper. In the middle of this metal bar there is a bit of an indentation, so basically it's easier to pinpoint the location, and that's the middle point. When you lock it in place, that is your stop block for the timber to rest on. The other bar, that's actually your clamping mechanism, so you're going to drive in the threaded rod through there, and that will be pushing against your piece of timber. To make sure that you can actually add a lot of pressure, you do get a key as well to the whole thing, which of course makes the job a lot easier. And the maximum reach of this threaded rod is about 7.5 centimeters. And now let's just finish off the clamp. That needs to be facing inwards, and it needs to be on the first hole available, just like so. And now we need to lock it up with these lovely screws. Go just like that. And the second bar, well, that needs to be facing inwards again, and you need to put it in a hole that will represent the size of the panel you want to glue up. For example, let's put it in here, and we're gonna lock it in place. And now simply we're gonna add the second part of the clamp, and we'll secure it with the remaining two screws. More or less, this is the furthest position you can have these apart, and we've got about 12 centimeters. Okay, I have never glued up any pieces that are 12 centimeters thick, but if you do, well, you do have the option there with these clamps. And there you have it, our clamps are now ready for a glue up. And there's actually one more very cool feature that these clamps have. Well, those metal bars just over here are 20 millimeters in diameter, and that means they will fit perfectly in your dog holes if you've got a standard sized holes in your MFD style tabletop. Absolutely perfect. Great solution there. So there you have it, another extra feature with these clamps. However, in most cases you will just stand them up on those metal bars on top of your workbench, and actually that is pretty solid as well. As I say, the rods are 20 millimeters in diameter, so you shouldn't have any issues in standing them up. So let me just cut a few pieces of pine and we'll make a simple glue up to see how they actually perform and how easy it is to use them. I'm actually not going to remove the excess glue that will be on the clamps themselves, and we'll see how easy it is to actually remove the wood glue from them. So let's whack the boards in, and I'm actually going to use my MFD style tabletop to hold everything together as well. It's just a little bit easier. Now we can lower down the top bars, just like so. And to be fair, if you do have very uneven boards, then you can add some additional clamping pressure on these bars. So from that perspective, it's quite good. It's definitely not the quickest process that you can think of. But hey, if the end result is good, then why not? Adding pressure is actually quite easy. and you can see all the glue squeeze out already. So definitely the pressure you can create in this style of clamp is very, very high. Now, to be honest, you're gonna need at least 2 pairs of these clamps, okay? One set is definitely not enough unless you're doing really small glue ups like I am right now, but usually you would need at least 3 of them, something in the middle as well. However, if you're doing larger glue ups, then yeah, you're gonna need more of them. But hey, I'm gonna leave that overnight, and it is quite late, so I'll see you tomorrow morning. Alright, so it's the next day. Let's unclamp everything and we'll see how everything went. Here we go. Beautiful panel. That's sorted. Okay, so we do have a bit of wood glue over here and over there. A bit on the edge, but oh, tell you what, that just came off right off. Look at that. That is just, that didn't even stick to it. I've got a little bit more on this one. Absolutely brilliant. That glue didn't even stick onto the clamps. Absolutely amazing. Well, I must say I wasn't expecting that. The glue did not stick to these at all. It's not like it's easy to remove. It actually, you just wipe it off and it comes off. Absolutely fantastic. Tell you what, I'm loving this solution. This is a great option for gluing up panels. And now it's time for the second product. This time it's a very simple to use, however fairly comprehensive sharpening jig. Again, it's from Enjoywood, and as you can see, it's neatly packaged here. You do have the angle gauge as well to check out what's the correct angle of your chisel or plane or anything else you want to sharpen. So that's quite handy. And that's the jig itself. Instead of bearings on the left and right, you actually do have one large metal roller. And that's the final piece of the jig that will help you to establish the correct position of the chisel or your blade into your sharpening jig. First of all, we're going to use the angle gauge to see what's the angle of our chisel, and I know it's 30 degrees and it fits absolutely perfect into that slot. If you were not sure, then of course go each by each to see which one is a perfect fit. And now we need to set up our jig. Okay, so we are looking for the 30-degree mark, which is just over here. Okay, we do have a line that needs to match with our jig. So simply offer this block, lock it in place, okay, and now it's set up to 30 degrees, making sure that ledge over here is facing you. Now we need to install our chisel in the jig itself, and tell you what, it works absolutely lovely. So simple. And now the maximum reach over here, that's gonna be about 70 millimeters. Okay, so you can do your planes here as well. Now I'm going to offer this jig in its place, okay, so it will slide left to right, however there is no movement front to back, and that's what's important. And now simply just push the chisel until it touches the wall. When it does, lock the jig in place, and that's it. You are ready to start sharpening your blade. And now simply offer your jig to the stone, and you can start sharpening your chisels. As you see, in setting up this jig is super simple and it will take you virtually seconds to add your chisel and sharp away. And from one side, I actually do like this wide metal tube that is guiding our chisel as we are working away, as there is no risk of running off your stone while you're sharpening, and you don't have to change the size of the wheels, for example, in other jigs if you've got a plane to sharpen, something wider. Okay, so that's one perspective. However, changing this part when it eventually will get damaged over time may be a little bit problematic, i.e. trying to get replacement for that. It's probably going to be a bit more expensive than, for example, the wheels that you can find in other jigs. So you have to be mindful with that. I think that will go as a negative. A second negative thing that I found is a big one, in my opinion. Yes, it's actually quite easy to install the blade itself with those two knobs at the end. However, when you actually use the jig, well, your hands will be over them. And as you are working away, it's quite easy to actually undo them. And then your chisel moves slightly or actually falls out. So from that perspective, I think this is a fairly major flaw. You have to be very mindful to grab the jig in a way that you're actually not touching them, so there is no risk of undoing them. Overall, when you consider the price tag and how easy it is to set up and use, it could be potential a good choice. However, I think there are better choices than this out there, even on Banggood. If you've got some hinges that you need to install in your doors and you want to do it easily and efficiently, well, the next jig is for you. And yes, this jig is again from Enjoywood. So what are we getting in this lovely package? Apart from the jig itself, you do get a bearing guided router bit, an Allen key to operate the jig itself, a driver for the screws, and also a guided drill bit as well. Now the build quality of the jig seems to be very nice, and it's fully adjustable as well depending on the size of your hinge. At the front you do have some clamps. There you go. This particular jig, the markings are in inches. Okay, so you've got bottom marks and you've got the top marks. You've got the arrows pointing, so you know exactly where you are with the middle divider. And that divider will help you to pinpoint the right size for your hinge. Okay, you can lock it from the front and from the top, so it's not gonna move on you as you're gonna be routing out the channel. And check that out, you've got a cutout over here and over here when you're gonna start routing, so you're not starting on your material, but actually you've got a safe bay just over here, so you can put your router bit, start your router, and then create the cutout itself. Very handy. There's actually a couple of ways you can set the jig up. First of all, the easiest way, you can just marry up your hinge with the jig. Okay, push it against it and just lock it in place, and that will be the distance for your hinge itself. However, what you can also do, you can take your hinge and basically mark off how wide it is, and then what you can do, depending on what size your hinge is, we're going to marry up the side of our jig, lock that in place, and then push the divider into the right position, lock it in place, and there you go, our jig is set up for this size of hinge. I'm going to use this side, so I'm just going to offer the hinge, put the divider like so, lock it in place, and that's the slot I need to cut out for my hinge. Now you may ask the question, well, how deep should I set up my router? And tell you what, there's another cool feature on this jig. You actually do have those cutouts on left and on the right as well, and it's 0.157 inches, and on the other side we've got 0.118 inches. Okay, so depending on how thick is your hinge, you've got two setups there. So basically the way you set this up, put the router on top and just drop it down until the router bit touches the base of the jig, and then you can lock it in place. And as I said, you do have this cutout for the router bit, so you're not starting the router on the material cell, so that is very good. Okay, let's do this. And there you have it, we've got nice and perfect cutout for our hinge. Absolutely gorgeous, and the last thing to do is just to square out those edges, and you can do it with a chisel. And with that done, we can offer our hinge, and check that out, absolutely perfect fit, no gaps at all. And now with the drill provided, we can drill straight holes. And there you have it, simple and quick as that. Now I must say, it's actually a very well made solid jig with all the bits and pieces you would need to install hinges. The question is, how many hinges do you actually have to install, and do you need a dedicated jig for it? I'm going to leave that question with you, as you are the best judge for it. From me, if you need one, I can definitely recommend this. And now it's time for the last jig I've got for you today. However, this one, I think, in my opinion, is the most interesting one, as it's not just for one simple task. This one is fully adjustable. You can use it with your table saw, router table. Actually, you can probably use it with a bandsaw as well. It's going to be like a joinery sled, coping sled. Tell you what, let's have a look at it. And that's all the pieces you get in this package. And I have to say, again, the quality is great. And this is actually quite heavy. Everything is nicely made, really chunky. You know, should last for a very long time. On top of it, you do have some instruction. And as you can see, you can use it with a router to make some finger joints as well. But in my case, I'm going to use it with my table saw. So let's put this quickly together. First of all, the front piece. On the other side, we do have 4 screws that we need to undo. And in that place, we're going to install these angled brackets. Same thing on the other side. On the base itself, you do have these locking handles here. So we need to undo these. And now we can offer our front. And you do have some holes right at the bottom where you need to install these. Next, we can install the handles on our mitre bar, but before you do that, make sure to put the plastic washers on top. You can change the position of the runner and of the whole jig with those 2 knobs over here. So you can slide it inside, which will take the jig closer or further away from your table saw blade or your router bit. However, what we're gonna do as well, I'm gonna remove these fully, as you do have an option to fully dial this in, so you won't have any slack in your mitre slot. So let's do that now. This track will fit any standard sized mitre slot. Okay, for example, this is the new table saw from Evolution, the TBLX, and it fits just fine. Now I do have a bit of a wiggle here, so I'm just going to add a bit of pressure to those plastic washers. And have we got anything? Now it's perfect now, no movement at all. And yes, you can actually have this under an angle as well. Okay, so you do have an option to have an angle for the base of the jig, but also you do have an option to have an angle on the front of the jig as well. On top of it, you do have 2 star knobs over here. If you undo them, you can actually move this plate that's holding the front forward and backwards, and it just moves a tiny bit. Okay, so you can dial in the position exactly to a millimeter to make sure you've got absolutely perfect cuts. When you're happy with it, just lock it down in place and Bob's your uncle. At the front of the jig, you do have this aluminium extrusion. Okay, but what you can do, you can fully take it off, okay, and just have that front, maybe like a fence. However, this adds the full features to this. Okay, as you can see, you've got 3 levels here, and what you can do, you can change the position of these T-bolts, and now you've got different types of angles, and you can set this up to any angles you want. There's no issues with that. Check this out. You can have a straight 90 degree, and that's what I'm going to be using in a second. But yeah, you can establish any potential angles you may need for the job at hand. On top of it, you also get this really nice clamp. And the way this works is absolutely dead simple. You just put it through the track and then lock down your piece of material. And yeah, overall, this is a very neat solution. Quite heavy, very well made. So yeah, let's give it a try. Now, in this scenario, as we are going to be cutting out a tenon, what I do need to have is some sort of a backer board, okay, that this will rest on as we are cutting that material through, making sure there's no blowout from the blade itself, and making sure that this will not shift on us like so. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to clamp this on. Make sure everything is tightly done up. and we're ready to go. And there you have it, we managed to cut a tenon on a table saw with this handy jig, and that's just one of the examples of what you can do with this jig. Now this jig really gives you a lot of versatility, and there's so many ways you can adjust it and change it. I think it's definitely one of the best jigs on Banggood from Enjoywood for sure. And I will definitely pick up at least 2 more sets of these clamps. The clamps are fantastic, and I could not believe that the glue doesn't stick to them. So that's one hassle straight through the window, and they really do help you in aligning the work, making sure everything stays well clamped and flat as well. Brilliant clamps for sure. Now the prices of all these tools on Banggood will vary depending on where you live around the world, so I'm just going to leave you some links in the description of this video and in the pinned comment so you can have a look if it's worth your money, okay, if the price is right for you. And if you hurry, I am posting this video on Black Friday, so there could be some very good deals on Banggood right now, so check it out and don't miss out. Now at this point I just wanted to say a massive thank you to my Patreons for the ongoing support, and before you go, check out these Tool Cool playlists, plenty of great videos already there. For today that's all, thank you so much for watching, take care.